Next, we'll review organization structure. If you're coming from EBS background, then you'll find the organization structure is quite similar to what we used to have in 11 and 12. The left-hand side shows the hierarchical structure of the organizations, various entities that we have in Oracle Cloud Applications. At the top, we have legal entity. Normally, you will be creating one legal entity per country. You might have different legal entity depending on how many business entity or product lines you have. So at least one legal entity, but you can have multiple legal entity in a single country. Then profit center, business units, same as operating unit if you are aware of that in 11 or 12. Under business unit, you'll have cost organization. The cost organization concept was there in 11 or 12, but it was not utilized properly. So here in cloud application, cost organization is more extensively used. If you want to understand how it behaves, the cost organization works with a cost book, which is a new concept added in cloud application. If you want to understand more about cost organizations, I would suggest you to refer to the cost training session. Here, we are not going to discuss more. What we will focus in this session is about the inventory organization. So under cost organizations, we create inventory organization. And we can have single cost organizations for multiple inventory organizations. So suppose you are operating in UK, and in UK you have 3-4 different inventory organization, but you maintain the same cost in all the inventory organization. Then you can create a single cost organizations, and under that you can have multiple inventory organization. Then within each inventory organization, we'll have various sub-inventories. The sub-inventories can be raw, WEAP, FGI. You will create multiple sub-inventories within a single inventory organization. And finally, if you want to distinguish various physical locations within a sub-inventory, suppose you have raw, in raw you have various racks, 10-20 different racks, and if you want to distinguish each rack in system, if you want to map your physical storage locations to the system storage locations, then you can create locators. The right hand side shows the structure in a specific inventory organization. So in a single inventory organization, we'll have multiple sub-inventories. As I have already mentioned, we can have raw, WEAP, FGI. Also, you can have a separate receiving sub-inventory. So these are all storage sub-inventory. Next, we can also have a receiving sub-inventory that will be used only for receiving purpose. And under each sub-inventory, we can have multiple locators. So here you see we have locator 111, 112. So this is like one rack, and in one rack, you will have various rows as well as various columns. And using locator, you can specify a very specific small entity, a very small storage location in your inventory organization. It is mandated to have at least one sub-inventory in the inventory organization. So if you create a new inventory, you need to create at least one sub-inventory before you start using that inventory organization. Locator is not mandatory. You can have locators, if not required, if it is a very small inventory organization, and if you really don't store a lot of inventory, then you might not need to define locator, but you need to have at least one storage sub-inventory. Receiving is not required, but if you want to track on hand which are pending for delivery, just received in your warehouse but not yet delivered to a specific sub-inventory, specific location, then you can create a receiving sub-inventory. So this is the page where we create organization. Unfortunately, organization is part of inventory. I mean, it's part of inventory, but when you do the setup, it is defined in the facilities. Most of the forms and fields will look similar to what we used to have in 11 and 12, but it is much simplified because we don't create any accounts. If you remember in 11 and 12, in the organizations, we have to define a lot of accounts, COGS account, then intercompany accounts. A lot of accounts needs to be defined in the organization, but here in cloud applications, we don't define any accounts in the organization parameters. All those accounts are derived through mapping set. Anyway, to create a new organization, navigate to create organization page, and here you'll have two options. One is to create new, or select an existing organizations to modify it. First, you have to give it a name of the organizations, then the organization code. The concept is same as what it was in 11.12. We can use code for reporting purpose as well as while importing data from various other third-party systems. We can use organization code, as well as when you import through Excel, you can use the organization code. The name can be any text which is easy to understand, but the code can be something which will specify these organizations, but will be used in all the reports and for various transactions. Next, we have to select a business unit. The concept of business unit is same as what we used to have in R12 called operating unit. And as soon as you select the business unit, system will show you various legal entities applicable for that business unit. Unless you select any business units, this legal entity field will be blank. You can't select any legal entity. We can have one business unit working for various legal entity. The concept was added in R12. In 11, we used to have one-to-one relationship mapping between legal entity and business unit or operating unit. But in R12 as well as in cloud, we can have one business unit creating documents as well as transactions for various legal entities. So as soon as you select the business unit, system will show you the list of legal entity over here. Select the correct one. The system will show you the ledger, and this ledger will be applicable for this inventory organization. So when you will do the cost organization mapping for this inventory organizations, this primary ledger will be used. Next, system will default the address from the business unit, but system will also allow you to change it. So here in the list of values, you can change the legal address for this specific inventory organization. If it is same as the business unit, you can keep whatever system defaults. If not, then you can also change it. And address details comes from the address name, as well as the internal or external field will also default from the address name. Next is inventory management uses. So this is a bit different. In 11 and R12, we used to have only inventory organizations, but here in cloud, we can have also an item organization. We'll discuss that later, but here when you go to inventory management page, system will by default select the usage as inventory management. When you're creating organizations from item master page, system will select that as item organizations. You can't edit this field. So this is the key point. An organization structure that doesn't have dependency on business units or legal entities, we create them at item organization. So this is where you just define the items, but you don't do any transactions, or rather, even if you do any transactions, you don't want system to create any journals or any financial accounting entries. However, inventory organization is a normal inventory organization, so organization structure that requires business units and legal entities used by Oracle Fusion Materials and logistic and procurement applications. So for the normal business usage, you will be using inventory organizations. But if you're in specific industry where you really don't need to track on-hand inventory, or you don't want to do any kind of inventory transactions, then you can use just an item organizations to define the items. So after entering the basic information, click on the next page and system will take you to the organization parameter. We can also navigate to the organization parameter from the organization search page. We'll see that in system. Next is the organization parameter. So when you click on the next button in the previous page over here, system will take you to this page where you have to enter various fields. And as I've already mentioned, the number of fields over here is less compared to what you used to have in 11 and R12. The first tab is the general tab where we have to enter the schedule. The time zone, you can select whichever is your correct time zone. Then item master organizations. This is the master organization. So each inventory organizations and each item organizations need to be assigned to a master organization. Master organization is the organizations where first all the items will be defined, and then those items will be assigned to a specific inventory organization before you can start working in that inventory organization. Starting revision for all the item numbers. So when a new item is created in this specific inventory organization, system will start with revision A. Next, allow negative balance. If you want system to allow negative balance in the inventory organizations, then enable this checkbox. If you don't enable this checkbox, then the system will never allow you to have negative on hand. Allow negative on hand transactions. These two works together. So if you allow negative balance, then maybe you also want to have negative on hand transactions. Use original receipt date, round reorder quantity, automatically cancel transfer orders to back orders. So if you have any business requirement for any of these functionalities, then you can enable them. If not required, then you can disable them. None of them are mandatory. Automatically cancel transfer order back orders is quite important in the sense that if you are working as a distribution center where you support various manufacturing plants as well as end customers, distributors, in that case, the demand supply, you need to manage the demand supply properly. And if you get a lot of demand for which you don't have any supply and you want those orders to be directly cancelled, then you need to enable this checkbox. If it is a manufacturing plant which is into, say, engineering to order business scenario or assemble to order business scenario, then maybe you don't want to automatically cancel transfer back orders. If it is back ordered, then you want to create a new supply for that demand. But if you are into make to stock strategy scenario and in a distribution center where demands and supply keeps on changing a lot, and if you don't have enough on hand, you just want to cancel that demand, then you can enable this checkbox. And here locator control, we can have no locator control or pre-specified or dynamic entry. We'll discuss more about locator control while creating Subinventory. But here if you select no locator control, then you will not be able to create locators in the sub-inventories. So you need to either specify this as dynamic entry or decided in the sub-inventory level. As I mentioned, we'll discuss more about locator control while creating sub-inventory, and we'll also see the options in the system. Next is important, the organization is a manufacturing plant. If you don't enable this checkbox, then WIP module will not be available. So you will not be able to create any work order, standard or non-standard. You can create any kind of work order unless this inventory organizations is defined as a manufacturing plant. So if this is only a storage warehouse where you keep materials but you don't create any work order, you don't implement manufacturing module in this inventory organizations, then you don't need to enable this checkbox. But if this is an organization which will be used both purpose for manufacturing as well as for inventory storage, then you need to enable this checkbox, organization is a manufacturing plant. Next is organization as a contract manufacturing. This is a new field we have in cloud applications. We didn't have any such feature in 11 and R12. Even though the contract manufacturing concept was added in release 12, I think in release 12.1 or 12.2, Oracle started the contract manufacturing functionality in Oracle EBS, but it was not properly defined. Here in cloud, the contract manufacturing properly integrates with the main manufacturing plant. Anyway, so if you want to define any organizations as a contract manufacturing organizations, then you have to enable this checkbox. And as soon as you enable this checkbox, system will enable this supplier and supplier side. So whoever is your contract manufacturer, you have to enter the contract manufacturer name over here in the supplier and the contract manufacturer site name in the supplier side. And I also missed about this point, organization performance maintenance activities. So if you have maintenance activities similar to EAM in enterprise asset management, what we used to have in 11 and 12, if you want these organizations to be used as EAM, then you enable this checkbox. So the organization that you are creating is only created for warehouse purpose, then you don't need to enable these checkboxes. But if the organization is warehouse, will be utilized both for warehouse as well as for manufacturing, then you need to enable this checkbox. If the organization will be used both for warehouse, manufacturing, as well as you also have fixed assets and assets for which you need to do maintenance activities, then you need to enable these two checkboxes. If the organization is an external entity, is a contract manufacturer which will be building products for you through contract manufacturing process, then you need to enable these two checkboxes. Movement request is similar to move orders what we used to have in 11.12, and we'll have more discussion about movement request. We'll see how movement requests are created and how do transactions using movement request to move materials from one sub-inventory to another sub-inventory in the same inventory organization. So here the options for movement request: pick slip batch size. If you want to control a maximum number of pick slips that can be created in movement request, you can enter it value over here. If not, then system will create movement request for all the required demands. Then replenishment movement request grouping, automatically delete pick webs when movement requests are cancelled, close movement request at pick confirmation. So these are various options. Again, if required as per business needs, then you can enable them. This one, automatically deletes pick web when movement requests are cancelled, is kind of similar to this one, but this is more for sales orders or internal orders, and this is for movement request. In movement request, if you don't have enough on hand, if you cannot fulfill a specific demand, do you want system to automatically delete picks when the movement request is cancelled? And similarly, close movement request lines at pick confirmation. So when you do the pick confirmations, do you want system to automatically close the movement request? If not, system will not close the movement request. This is the general tab. As I've already mentioned, there are not many attributes which are mandatory. The only mandatory attributes are schedule and item master and starting revision. However, these three are also pretty important, so you need to make sure you select all these values correctly. Next is lot and serial tab. So if you click over here, lot and serial, system will take you to this page where you define various attributes for lot and serial generation as well as lot and serial control. All the attributes and fields are same as what it was in EBS in 11 and 12. So if you are aware of it, the concepts are pretty similar. So the first to define for lot control, what is the uniqueness, whether the lot will be unique for item or inventory organizations, or there will be no uniqueness. The generation, at what level the lot numbers will be generated. Now before going into the lot control, let's go to system and create an organizations, then we can go through each of the attributes one by one. So now let me go to system and create an organizations. First let's fill up the general information tab, then we'll go to the lot and serial number. So to create a new inventory organization, we need to navigate to manufacturing and supply chain materials management. And here as I've mentioned, we don't create inventory organizations, inventory management, we create that in facilities. The rest of the organization structure, such as sub-inventory locators, are created in inventory management, but inventory organizations are created in facilities. Here, manage facilities, manage inventory organization, click on that to create a new inventory organization. In this page, we can search existing inventory organizations as well as to create a new one. We can click on the plus sign over here, or we can go to actions and create. And if you have an existing inventory, if you just want to change the parameters, we'll review that later, then you can directly do it from that page. You don't have to come to this page and click on the next button. So let's say we want to create a new inventory as MI manufacturing, US manufacturing, and organization code we want to give it as 9001. Next, we have to select management business unit. So let's say we will use the existing Vision Corporation US one business unit, the seeded that comes with the Vision instance. And as soon as you enter the business unit, system will default the primary ledger, and then you can select the legal entity. So let's select US one business legal entity, and system will default the profit center. Click on save, and then next. So here are all the general tab informations that we need to enter. The first one is schedule. So if you have already defined your schedule, you can use it, or if required, you can create a new schedule. Otherwise, you can use any of the existing schedules. So we just select one of the existing schedule. Let me select this one. Then time zone, item master organization, whichever is your item master organization, select that. In this instance, I have one item master called 000, so I'll select that. Yeah, I have to select the name, operations, then starting division number. It can be 0, A, B, C, whatever you want. You select that. Then allow negative balance, allow negative on-hand transactions, use original receipt date, round reorder quantity if you are using reorder planning, and automatically cancel back orders. Let's enable this. Now here, as you're mentioning, these are the important things that we need to select. One is whether it is a manufacturing plant or not. Let's say we want to do manufacturing over here, so I'll enable this checkbox. And if you right now, if you see the supplier sites are disabled because it is not enabled as a contract manufacturer. If you want to use this manufacturing entity as a contract manufacturer, then you have to enable this checkbox, and system will enable the supplier. In fact, system will make the supplier name as mandatory. And we are not going to use this as a contract manufacturer, so I will not enable this checkbox. Next, whether we are going to use maintenance activities, select that. Integrated system type, if you have any third-party systems which will be integrated with this inventory management system, then you can select that. Third-party logistic or WMS system or coexistence integration, not required or not mandatory. Next, replenishment movement request grouping, how you want to group the replenishment movement request by organization or by destination of inventory. Let's select by destination of inventory. That means if suppose you have the requirement of an item in 3 different sub inventories, then when the movement request will be created, system will automatically create 3 different movement requests. If you select it in the organization level, then system will create only 1 movement request. Next is lot and serial numbers. So here, lot and serial numbers, the first is the uniqueness, whether the lot is unique or not. Oh, sorry, before that, let me just go back here and show you the locator control. So locator control right now is no locator control, but we are going to use locator control in the sub inventory which will create in this inventory. So I'll change this to there are 3 options. Whether one is dynamically entry locator control determines at sub inventory level, or previously defined locator control. If it is no locator control, that means you are not going to use locator control. You are not going to use locator in this inventory organization. So you cannot create locator in any of the sub inventory under this inventory. Previously defined means it is predefined. So you have to create all your locators before you can start using them. Dynamic entry means you can use previously defined locator, as well as the user, the technicians or the operators who while doing transactions, they can dynamically generate a locator. Locator control determined at the sub-inventory level means at the sub-inventory level will decide whether whether that specific sub-inventory will be locator controlled or not. So this is the safe option if you want to decide at the point of locator at the point of creation of sub-inventory whether that will be locator controlled or not. You might have many sub-inventories which are locator controlled and few sub-inventories which are not locator controlled, unless if you are into project manufacturing. If you are into project manufacturing, then maybe you want to have all the sub-inventory as locator controlled. Then lot control, whether you want to have them no uniqueness or uniqueness across items. And generation, when the lot numbers will be generated at item level, at organization level, or user defined level. Let's select this is an item level. Then allow different lot statuses, no, with exception yes. So if you want to have lot status, then select this field as yes, and automatically create lot unit of measure conversions, yes or no. If you don't enable this checkbox, then if you want to have lot conversion, then you have to manually define the unit of measure between the primary unit of measure and the other unit of measure in which lots transactions will take place. Then prefix, if you want to enable a prefix for the lot numbers, here if you select this as organization level, then system will enable this prefix field where you can enter a prefix for your lot numbers. But if you defined the lot control is at item level, then you don't have to enable the prefix over here. You cannot enter the prefix over here because in the item level you have to enter the prefix for each of the items. Next, child lot control. Similarly, generation prefix total length you have to enable if you are going to use child lot control. Again, this will be available only if you are selecting the generation as at organization level. If it is in the item level, it is not required. You have to select all the informations in the item level. So if you select at organizations level, here you can select the generation, whether parent or parent and child. Then if you select parent and child, then you can select a prefix for the child. Anyway, we're not going to use this. We will use lot control at item level. So I'll select change it back to the item level. Next is serial generation. The concepts are same as what we had in 11 and R12. We have 4 different options. The uniqueness can be across organizations, within inventory organizations, within model and inventory item. Select uniqueness across organizations, then it might not be based in the sense that you have to have different serial numbers for each of the item that you have in inventory organization. So usually it is unique within inventory item or within model and inventory items. This is normally what used in most of the companies. However, if you have a specific requirement, you don't want to have the same serial number across any items in your inventory organizations, you can also select this option. Let me select this one, unique within model and inventory items. Next, generation, at what level the serial numbers will be generated, at organizations level, item level, or user defined. If you select user defined, then you can define your own serial numbers, but let's say we want to define in the item level. So I'll select this as item level, and only if you select this as organization level, then you have to enter the starting serial number. If it is an item level, then it's not required. And packing unit generation. So this is a new concept, packing unit generation. We didn't have this in 11 or 12. If you are going to use cloud packing concept, then you can enter the prefix as well as total length and suffix and starting packing unit. Next, after entering all this information, we need to go to item sourcing details. Next is picking rule. So picking rule is used by system to pick various materials at the point of self-starter picking or week picking. We'll discuss more about picking rule in the session. Let me select an existing picking rule over here, absolute LIFO. Next is sub-inventory order and locator order. You can specify priority while creating sub-inventories and locator, but if you don't enter any priority, if you want your sub-inventories to have priorities, this default priorities, then you can enter the value over here. But again, while creating the sub-inventories and locator, you can also change the value. Let's select this as 50-50, and later on, while creating the sub-inventory in this inventory organization as well as locator, so we change them. Peak confirmations required or not. Even if you select peak confirmations required, we can have move orders automatically peak confirmed, depends on the rule that we defined on the picking parameters. Anyway, I'm not going into the details about this because we'll discuss more about all these attributes and fields while doing various transactions as well as through the setup session. Overpicking for movement request enabled. So if you want the technicians and operators to be allowed to overpick materials more than what is in the movement request, then you can enable this checkbox. Automatically populate pick quantity during pick confirmations, which is not a good option because the person who is doing the pick confirmations can view the item in the form, and normally you would like them to manually enter the value instead of system populating the value. So I will not enable this. And next, capture picking exceptions. Yes, we want to capture the picking exceptions. Quantity exceptions region, if you want to have a default region for quantity exceptions, you can select that over here. This is sourcing and distribution parameters, but I'm not discussing these points now. We'll cover these topics later on. Now to complete the process, I need to click on the save button or save and close, and system will create the new inventory organization. So now we can query the inventory organization over here. So the number was, if you know the organization name, then you can enter the name or the number. If you don't know anything, you can just do a blind search, and system will show you all the inventory organization defined in this specific instance. So because we started with 9, it will be towards the end. So this is the manufacturing organization that we created, 9001. Now here, if you want to edit, you can click on the edit button over here, but then system will take you to the first page and you have to click on the next button to go to the parameters. But if you just directly want to make some changes to the parameters, you can select this and click on the manage parameters. Let me cancel and show you that. So here, now this time let me just enter the number. So system will just show us the inventory organization that we created. And now if you directly click on manage organization parameters, system will take you to the organization parameters where you can make changes as required.